to today's live stream. We are going to be live streaming the my mock draft predictions. Let me just make sure everything's good. We are online YouTube, it says, and we are sending data to Twitch. This is awesome. I hope you guys are all having an amazing good day. Let's get right on into the draft. Once I check and make sure we are all good on YouTube. If we are, then we're gonna start it right up. If not, we're going to have to mess around with a little more things, but I cannot wait to get into this. One sec, I'm going to take a quick drink. All right, we're working over on YouTube, so let's just get this party rolling. And we are online on Twitch. That's awesome to see. Let's get it going, guys. So first, I want to talk about this Kyle Lowry situation. I talked about it just a little bit in the last live stream, right before I switched over to YouTube. But now we're over here on YouTube, and I want to talk to you guys about the live stream. So let's talk. Let's talk about this Kyle Lowry news, about how the Pelicans are hard pursuing to get Kyle Lowry on their team. Now, they see him as a guy that can bring leadership onto this team. And I agree with that. I feel like he can bring good leadership to these players. I feel like he's going to force these players to play better defense. And I think it's a great thing for the team. My only issue with it is I think they expect too much of him. Reading, David Griffin expects him to bring a level of leadership as Chris Paul did. Chris Paul, he's an amazing point guard. He's an amazing leader. I don't think he brings, quite as much as Chris Paul, and I don't think you can expect quite as much from Kyle Lowry as you can from Chris Paul. I don't think Kyle Lowry is going to get you over the hump like Chris Paul. He will get you into the playoffs, I believe, or at least get you close because the West is very difficult. But I don't think he makes you a playoff or a championship contender. So that's just what I'm saying. So first, let's get right on into the draft. All right, as you see over here, we have the draft right here. So, in my opinion, I'm going to go through these picks and then I'm going to talk through, what I'm thinking, trades I'm thinking, possibly other stuff like that. So, first, obviously, I think that there is no way that Cade Cunningham is not the first overall pick. There's been people talking about how, oh, the Detroit Pistons are really looking into, other players. I don't think they look into too hard into anyone else other than Cade Cunningham. I think Cade Cunningham is the strong favorite to go first overall. I don't think he goes much lower than that. Um, if he does, it would be crazy. I think so many teams would be calling the Houston Rockets for huge deals. Now, there has been news that the Rockets have been calling the Pistons for the first overall pick. The only thing I'd be willing to get for the first overall pick is I want Houston's pick, the second overall pick this year, plus I want at least, I think, 2 future firsts, plus either KPJ or Christian Wood. And I think it'd be a great deal. I think if you're the Pistons and you get one of them two back, if you get KPJ back, then you draft Mobley. If you get Christian Wood back, you draft Jalen Green. I think it's just based on fit because I feel like they're both very equal talents. Even though people might think, oh, Jalen Green is so much better, I think that's just because the NBA is so focused on guards. I think Evan Mobley can be a top 5 player in the league soon, if he can develop his game and to be a better all-around player. I think he has so many good things. If he can make a couple of those things great, he's great on defense, but if on the offensive end he can become great in certain areas, he will be a fantastic player. So I think obviously the first overall pick is Cade Cunningham. I think he'd fit perfectly along with that team, but as we move on, we are going to talk about the Rockets here for a second. I do not see the Rockets moving this pick really at all. There's, been rumors that people have been calling about it. I think, if you're the Rockets, you really want to keep this pick unless you see some great package. I don't see much of a great package out there. So if I'm them, I'm taking Jalen Green. I personally don't think that Evan Mobley would fit well next to Christian Wood. You already have a great, power forward, center, whatever I think he's a better small ball center. I don't think he'd fit next great to Evan Mobley, so I think you do draft Jalen Green. I think he can. I'm not saying he will be like James Harden, but he can kind of be a James Harden like player with Christian Wood. Christian Wood dominated early in the season with James Harden on the team. I think he'd allow them to do that. But also another player I think that could step into that role is KPJ. Depending on what he does this season, he might have interesting, upside next year. And I think if Jalen Green or KPJ, it'd be interesting to see, if one of them could take on the more playmaking role and one of them could take on the more scoring role. I think Jalen Green, at least right now, is a little undersized to play the small forward, so it'll be interesting to see. But of course, I think they're going to draft him. Obviously, the Cavaliers here have a choice here. I think if I'm the Cavs, I'm immediately going with Mobley. I think there's no second thought in my mind. Their argument would be, well, we still have Jarrett Allen on the roster. I don't care. Jarrett Allen, you can get rid of him, sign and trade him. Just see you later. Evan Mobley, future of the team. I think he's equally as good as a defender as Jarrett Allen and a way better person already on offense. So I think he's an easy pick. But do I think the Cavs will go with the easy pick? No. They're the Cavs. So let's talk about what they might do. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to trade down and get Kuminga or something. Because, I think they're a team that's really looking for that small forward. As you see here, they're listing it as a position of need, that small forward or power forward. Or sorry, the power forward is a position of need. I honestly don't think they need a point guard. But, of course, they list Garland and Colin Sexton as point guards. If they're really intrigued with a point guard and they want to get rid of Colin Sexton 100%, I think they'd trade Colin Sexton, take Suggs. But I do think they will make the smart decision for once in Cleveland's career and take Evan Mobley with a 3rd overall pick. And I think the first 4 picks will pretty much go the same as everybody expects. I think the Raptors will obviously take Jalen Suggs and they'll trade Kyle Lowry for someone this year. I do think if the Cavs were to take, if the Cavs were to take Jalen Suggs, then they would be happily taking Evan Mobley, and I think Evan Mobley would be great for this team. It'll be interesting to see because, if Evan Mobley is available at 3, maybe they'll make a little stronger offer. Maybe they'll offer some of the young players like, Malachi Flynn, who is a pretty good prospect. I think he could be, something in the NBA. I don't know how good he would be, but it'd be interesting to see, what they would call and say about him. But I do think they take Jalen Suggs to replace Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is traded this offseason. Next, we have the Magic here. This is a very interesting pick to me because they have Scotty Barnes on the board, whose floor is so much higher than I think Jonathan Kuminga's. But Kuminga's ceiling is much higher than Scotty's floor. So, in my opinion, I think you draft for the ceiling at this position. You have a guy with a bunch of potential, Jonathan Kuminga. He, has so much potential at this position. I am a little worried about his work ethic, which may make them have pause and would make me have pause as well. I think his skills on the court, his skills are all there. The mental on the court might not be fully there yet, but I think it's going to be just fine for them. And I do think, I've seen in mock drafts that Scotty Barnes would go 5. I think it'd be hard to say, but I do have them taking Scotty Barnes. I think, he fits very well on the roster, and I think they're going for the floor here. And, Scotty Barnes, great floor. I think he's going to come in and immediately impact. So I think they're going to draft him. Now, the OKC Thunder here, I think, have a very easy decision. I think they immediately, if Kuminga's still on the board or if Scotty Barnes wasn't taken, I think either way they take whoever is left, Scotty Barnes or Kuminga. I think they take Kuminga here because, of course, Scotty Barnes was taken with the pick before. Kuminga is perfect for this team. He, has great upside, and, they have a great development staff. So I think they immediately draft him. Now the Warriors. I think there's no way that the Warriors actually select this. I think they're going to do everything they can to trade it. But if they do select this pick, I think Davion Mitchell is the easy pick for them. But he might drop. And I've heard rumors that he might drop. So I think, there are other players that they would be willing to take, like Moses Moody, that they worked out recently. They watched Sengun play. I don't know if they would take Sengun after taking Wiseman last year, but Sengun is definitely on the board and an option for them. I don't think they'd take Sharif Cooper, any Trey Murphy or anything, so it'd be interesting. Chris Duarte would be a little low for them to take unless they think a team behind them is going to take it or take him. It'll be interesting to see, but I do think that the Warriors do take Davion Mitchell. There is definitely a chance that Davion Mitchell drops, but I think they do take him with a hard look at Moses Moody. I think Moody would be their second option. It'd be interesting to see, but I think they take Mitchell because I don't really know what abilities Klay Thompson is going to have right now. So, all right. So after they after the Magic just selected Scotty Barnes, I believe they're power forward for the future. I think they look for a high upside player. And I think a high upside player for them could be someone like Bouknight, which is a great scorer. He doesn't bring much else. Or Keon Johnson with his amazing athleticism. They might see him as a project. But I wouldn't be surprised if they also take Moody here. I think Moody is a great pick. He has a floor that's super high, and his ceiling might not be as high as some others, but he has a great floor. He plays amazing defense. He has amazing, measurements wise. I think they do take him here. And yes, it might seem a little high at 8, but Moody is a great talent, and I think they do take him here. Now the Kings here. I think the best pick for the Kings is probably somewhere where it's probably like Sengun or Garuba. I think they want to get a center, and I think they will try to move on from Bagley. I don't think it would be the best thing. I think if you're them, you want to take some Franz Wagner, just someone you can get on the roster high upside like Jalen Johnson. But I do think, they might go with fit here, either Sengun or Garuba. But I personally, as I think it's going to go, is I think they will probably pick Sengun as their center for the future. Next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies on the board. There's a lot of rumors going around that they really like Giddey, and I do think they take Giddey here. He's great if you put him next to Morant. He's oversized. He's very tall, very large, and he's perfect next to Morant, I think. So it'd be interesting. I think it's a great fit there, and I do think they will end up taking him. So they're going to take Giddey here. That's the only reason I think they traded up. So that's why I have them taking them here. All right, next we have the Charlotte Hornets. Now, I really think they look for a center here. I think they go with Kai Jones. I think Kai Jones is a great prospect. I can't believe he's all the way down this far. Kai Jones is a huge lob threat, which they're going to have so many lob threats on that team. And Kai Jones is going to be an amazing fit for them. He's going to play, some great center, I believe. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cavaliers do draft Evan Mobley, that the Charlotte Hornets might not draft a center, wait for Jared Allen to become available. But it would be interesting to see. I do think they do take Kai Jones. Next pick, we have the Spurs. And I think the Spurs go with someone with a lot of potential. Someone they can develop because they have one of the best development staffs. I think, they would end up choosing either Franz Wagner or Jalen Johnson. I think it's one of those two players. They don't really need a guard, and I don't feel like these guys are so much better warranting them to choose them. I do think they end up picking Franz Wagner. I think he's a little bit better, prospect than Jalen Johnson. I feel like Jalen Johnson has some question marks coming out from college, leaving early and all that type of stuff. So I think they do take Wagner. It'll be an interesting fit. Next, we have the Pacers on the board. Now, I do think they, don't really have a lot of needs around there. They're a pretty well set team. I do think they do, I think they look to get rid of Miles Turner, move Sabonis to the 5, so they pick up someone that could play that 4 spot. And I think Garuba is a perfect fit for them. He will fit great on that team, and I think he'll be a great player to add. I think they pick Garuba. Now the Warriors back again on the clock. I think, they take someone with a super, super high floor. I think, someone that can shoot the ball really well. And I think that's Corey Kispert. I think he's a great shooter, and I think his game will very easily translate to the NBA. Next, we have the Wizards on the clock. I think they pick someone who has the highest upside on the board right now. I think James Bouknight. He's an amazing scorer. I think they're looking already to get rid of Bradley Beal, and they need another scorer to go with them. So I think they pick Bouknight. 6'5" shooting guard, amazing player. Next, we see the OKC Thunder back on the board. I believe they pick Jalen Johnson here to address that small forward position, as you see here, but also they really don't have a small forward. Baisley, he's more of a 4. It'd be interesting to see if they can find a small forward. Maybe Poku could play the 4. Oopsies. But I don't think Poku is going to be much of a 4 when he gets bigger. I think he'll play, or much of a 3 if he plays. He'd definitely be a 4. They don't really have any small forwards on this team that I think can be a really good starter, a high level starter. So I do think they take Jalen Johnson from Duke. Here we go at the Pelicans 17th overall pick. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pick someone that would intrigue a trade option, maybe a sign and trade for Kyle Lowry or something. I don't really know exactly what they'll do here, but personally, I think they pick up a Keon Johnson level player. I don't think he plays a minute with the Pelicans. I think he is immediately traded for veteran help. So I think they take him as the best prospect available to see if other teams would want him. Boom. Now, I'm going to just talk for a second about that pick. Now, if they didn't want to trade it, I think they'd pick a player. If Kispert was available, they'd definitely pick Kispert. Or if Duarte, well, I think he will be still available. I think they'd look to pick Duarte. So now they have Kuminga and Jalen Johnson. They have a great small forward room. I think they try to look for the best fit available, or not the best fit, sorry, the best player available. And I think, Sharife Cooper, he's a little question mark for me. I personally, if I'm them, I'm going with Tre Mann. I think Tre Mann and, Sharife Cooper are kind of those two talked about guys of where will they go. They're kind of the biggest question marks, in my opinion, where guys that they could really be really good or they wouldn't have much abilities in the NBA. I think Tre Mann would be a great pickup for a OKC team that could use any prospect they want. So I think they pick up Tre Mann here. Next, we have the Knicks on the clock. I think they look for a point guard. I think Jared Butler is a great option for them as Sharife Cooper. I personally think that Jared Butler is a higher floor than Sharife Cooper. I'm going to go with Butler. Now, with the Atlanta Hawks here, it'd be interesting to see who they pick. I really don't think they have many positions of need. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade out of this pick. But since they're here right now, I think they have to take someone that at least has good size. I don't think they'd take Sharife Cooper and another undersized point guard to have on the team. No. I wouldn't be surprised if they take a player like Trey Murphy, a great size shooting guard. I think it'd be a great player. Maybe they take Duarte. Maybe they take Zaire Williams. There's a couple questions there. I think they pick Trey Murphy. All right, we have the Knicks again. And, I think here, after picking Butler, they might hedge their bets and pick another point guard. But I am unsure about that. I think they tried to pick, a good shooter. I don't really know exactly where they'll go with here. I am going to have them picking Cooper because, I think they just really want to get that, point guard position for the future done. I think there's no way the Lakers don't pick Duarte here. I think they made a promise to Duarte pretty much saying that there's no way we will not pick you at pick 22. So I think they immediately pick Duarte. He will be an immediate addition. He will be a great three-point shooter. Great pick. If I am the Rockets here, I'm looking a lot at Isaiah Jackson. I think he's a pretty, not an amazing fit, but a pretty good fit next to Christian Wood. I think he'd work well in Houston. So I think they'd be happy to draft him at 23 plus 24. I think it'd be interesting to see who they pick here. I do think they'll probably pick Zaire Williams. Has great potential. I think he's going to bring a lot to the team. They don't really need a guard, but I think he could play the small forward position. He's a little light, and he will need to add more onto his frame, but I do think he will be a small forward. Next, we have the Clippers here. I think they immediately try to get a point guard. And, I think the best point guard for them, if I wouldn't be surprised if they trade down if they really like Miles McBride. I think Miles McBride will be available in a couple picks. But right now, I think Springer is a little better than McBride. I wouldn't also be surprised if they trade down for Dosunmu. He's a great point guard. I think he has a great passing potential. But McBride and Dosunmu are older guards, which I think would bring immediate help to this team. And Springer is a little bit of a question mark being a younger player. I do end up thinking they would reach a little bit and pick McBride at this spot. Pretty good defender and can bring some offensive help, being able to pass the ball a little bit better. Great fit. Next, we have the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets, they look for, obviously a small forward to put next to Jamal Murray. They have their, shooting guard. They have their small forward for the future. Kevin Porter Jr. can also play the power forward. I don't really know which one they'll have him play. They have Jokic, obviously, at the 5, Jamal Murray at the 1. Right now they have on the roster Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon will probably play the 4. So they're looking for a 3 for the future. And I think a great 3 for them is Joshua Primo. He's, a great player, and it'll be interesting to see what he can develop into. I think they pick him. Quentin Grimes would be another interesting pick there, but I think they go with the higher upside player. They don't need him right now on the roster. They will allow him to develop and probably not use him for a little bit. Now, the Nets here, I don't think there's any way they really make a pick here, but if they do, I think they'd love some size in JT Thor, and they might reach a little bit on Day'Ron Sharpe. I wouldn't be surprised at that. They really do need a quality defensive center. And Day'Ron Sharpe, I believe, can bring that better than Thor. I do believe they take Day'Ron Sharpe. Next, we have the Sixers here. If McBride was not reached on earlier, I believe they would take McBride. I believe right now that they would probably take Thor. I think Thor is a great fit for them. JT Thor, I think, would be a good project for them. It'll allow them to develop someone. And I think, he could bring something on the roster from just being able to get you some buckets, being able to develop. He'd be an interesting player for them. That's why I think JT Thor will be the pick right now. Now, that is not for, the most right now. I don't know if there's an amazing player on the board, maybe other than, Grimes would be the only player I think that could really help the team right now at that position. But I don't think they would go for him. I think they go for Thor, but it'd be interesting to see. Next, you have the Phoenix Suns with the 29th overall pick. This is an interesting pick to me. They need a good center, but, there's really not a great center until Bassey. I don't know if they reach on Bassey. I would not be surprised if they trade down. This is their only pick of the draft. So, it's hard to say what they'll pick here. I am kind of having a hard time guessing what they'll pick here. It's a hard choice here, but I think they go with best pick available. I think they try to draft their point guard behind Chris Paul of the future, Jaden Springer. All right, next we have the Utah Jazz. I think they look for an NBA-ready player, and I think that player is Quentin Grimes. I think it's a pretty easy pick here. I don't think they think about it much, and I think they take him. Next, we have the Bucks here. Now, the Bucks would really love I think a center here at this position, or Dosunmu. Both NBA-ready players could help the team out right now. I think Highland might be able to help out the team right now, but he still is a little bit young. I think they want to go with someone who has more potential, which both of these guys are juniors. I think they wouldn't be surprised if they went with both of them, or one of them. Sorry, not both, of course. I do think that they would end up picking Dosunmu and try to re-sign Bobby Portis. We are back with the Knicks. After the Knicks draft 2 point guards, I think they try to focus on that center position, taking Bassey here. And then we have the Orlando Magic, who I think take shooting guard Cameron Thomas here. I think they go for highest value, and I feel like Cameron Thomas is the highest on the board here. I think they pick him. 34th pick for the OKC Thunder. This would be an interesting pick. There's a couple high value players. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick Philippe Plouster. I don't really remember how to pronounce his name. 7-footer out of Serbia. So he'd be an interesting pick for them. It'd be interesting to see what they can develop him into. I'm not saying he will be like Poku, but, he's a guy that could develop like Poku. He's already a little bit bigger than Poku, so it'd be an interesting fit on the team. I do think they want someone that's a big or a small forward, and I do think that, I do think they take him. Boston's also available, but I think they wait a couple picks for Boston. They have a pick a little bit soon, or coming up. I think they take Philippe. Other than that, let's see what the Pelicans would pick. I don't know if they would take this pick either. They need a shooting guard. I wouldn't be surprised if they take Josh Christopher here. So I do think I will have them taking Christopher. Now, the OKC Thunder, of course, back on the clock. They don't have another pick for a little bit, and I think, they're willing to kind of reach down on Boston here. I think Boston is a great high upside player for them. He brings a scoring threat, and, with his size, he could maybe play the small forward position. He might be a little skinny for that, might need to fill out his frame, but I think they take it, see what they can get. He's a high potential player in my opinion. Next, we have the Pistons. So the Pistons have addressed, I believe, their shooting guard position. I believe Cade will play the shooting guard, or Killian Hayes will play the shooting guard. It'll be interesting to see how they plan on doing that. I think they'd love to look for a big here, but there is no, great big available without reaching on, Todd or something down here. They don't really have much here. So I think they stick with a guard position here. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick Highland. Next, we have the Bulls here. I think the Bulls are really looking for a point guard, and I believe David Johnson can really bring that. I think Knicks has really dropped in value. I think, before this year, Knicks might have had a spot on this list earlier. But right now, I believe Johnson, a little bit better prospect. I also wouldn't be surprised if they go with Nix, but Nix's value has dropped a lot, and I think Johnson is the pick here. All right, so the Kings here, I think, they go with a high upside player, trying to find the best player available. I think Nix is probably that. But, I don't know about the fit. In this position, you're not always drafting for the highest. You're drafting for the fit also. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pick Kessler Edwards, a great pick, or Herbert Jones, also two great picks. But I think, they will go with Jones here. I think he's a little better than Kessler. It'll be interesting to see. Then we have the pick that was traded for the Memphis Grizzlies. They got Giddey earlier. So I think they're looking for one of these forward positions. I think they would look down here in the draft. I think they'd be willing to reach a little bit on maybe a Todd or someone like that. I'm trying to see, Greg Brown would be an option for them. But it's, interesting to see what they would do here. Jericho Sims, I don't see him talked about much, but I personally do think that they would definitely, look to reach for him. He's a great talent. He can jump out of the gym. He'd be an amazing lob threat. And, if he can stay healthy, he'd be a great fit on the Memphis Grizzlies. He could play that small ball center when Steven Adams isn't in. It'd be a great fit, in my opinion. Next, we are here at the Spurs. I don't really think they can find a player that fits them perfectly, so I think they do go with Todd. His ability to, have a lot of upside at the 6'10". He has a great frame. He has all the physical measurements you'd want. I think they take Todd. All right, now, of course, are back to the Pistons, who have a whole lot of picks here. I think they go with this man here. I can never pronounce his name. I'm not even going to try. I think they pick him. They draft him. They're good with that. Here we go on the clock again. I really, don't think that the Pelicans really want another point guard, but I think they take the risk on Nix here to see what he can do for the team. I don't think, he would even play this year. He'd probably be a G League level or something around that level guy. Then we have the Nets looking for a center here. I think Day'Ron Sharpe will be a great center for them. I think they try to find a floor spacer and, or someone who can, become a future player for them. And I really like this Joel. I don't remember how to pronounce his name, but he played great for Gonzaga this year. I wouldn't be surprised. He's played on a high level if they look to get him. So I'm going to take a quick drink. All right. So now we're back with the Celtics here. This is their only pick of the draft. I think they go with someone here who they can develop, who also was a great player. Jason Preston, great player for them. Well, I think it'll work very well there. He fit right into the system. That's the type of system they want to run. The next two picks, owned by the Toronto Raptors. I personally think that they will draft someone with, pretty good upside. They're looking for a center, and there really isn't a great center available at this position. I don't think they reach on a player like Garza. They might look at Kunta, but I don't really know about that. I don't think they pick Hurt. He's a little undersized for them right now. Greg Brown is definitely an option on the board, but there's a worry about his work ethic and stuff like that. So I think they pick Edwards. And then I think they pick Livers. I think, he can be a great power forward for them. I think they pick him. So next we have the Atlanta Hawks here. They have many good options here. And I personally think they end up going with Aaron Henry, a good-sized, small, or shooting guard here that might be able to help the team in, this year. I don't really think he'll bring much to the team, but in the future, I do think he will bring a lot. Aaron Henry is the pick here. I'm not very high on Austin Reeves, but I do believe he will get picked at some point, and I believe this is the point. The Nets really aren't looking for a guy to impact the team right now, so I do think they pick Austin Reeves. He won't impact the team right away, but he will be a good help. I wouldn't be surprised if the Sixers here take either Quinta or Garza to back up, um, you know, to back up Embiid. But they're, of course, looking for a power forward, which I don't think there is a great power forward available. I wouldn't be surprised if they take Wieskamp for his three-point shooting. He had a really good three-point shooting at Iowa, but I think they pick a hometown college player, Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I think he's going to fit perfectly with that team. He was able to space the floor pretty well at Villanova, and of course, he's very close there already. Next, we have the Pelicans here. I do think they take Wieskamp for the floor spacing. I think that's a good pick for them. I think the Pistons, of course, take the highest guy available. I think they take Rukos. I don't know how to pronounce his name. You can figure it out. Next, the Pelicans are up again. So I wouldn't be surprised if they pick. Or no, the Pelicans were not up before. My bad, slipped my mind. I think they'll take Aaron Wiggins here. Interesting pick for them. I wouldn't be surprised if they only take one selection out of that whole draft. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade it all. Now this is one of my, interesting picks that some people might think is crazy, but I've been hearing that the the Pacers really like Alex Antetokounmpo, and I think they'd look at him for this pick, but I don't think he would get drafted for a little bit. So I think right now they look to take a center here, and I think it would be Luka Garza. I don't know if he will replace Miles Turner, but he definitely could. He has a good three-point stroke, and he will be, I believe, a good rim protector. I don't think he will be very good on the perimeter, and I think he will get very much exposed for that. I think that an OKC team would love to take, Greg Brown or someone with high potential. But I think they would love to get a center on the team, and I think Kuta is here. There we go. Sorry, taking a second to load. I think that the Hornets would immediately take Greg Brown if he was here. I think he's a great pick for them. Also, a very good lob threat if you know, if Kai Jones weren't to work out exactly. But I do also think that they take Matthew Hurt to totally secure up that center spot. They really do not want to have any problems with that center power forward slot. So I think they take him. Now, the Knicks are on the clock, and I think they're looking for someone at that guard position. There's a couple interesting picks here. You can look through the draft and find some interesting players, but I would not be surprised if they go with Reeve Pond. He's kind of gone up on some people's draft boards, and I think he's liked by a lot of players. I think they pick him. Next, the 59th pick, one of the last picks, second to last pick, I should say. I think the Nets select a guy who can, help them out at the center position. Maybe, he is a little skinny. He's only listed as a power forward, but I do think he can play center in the NBA a little bit as kind of a, small ball center. We have Santi. And with the last overall pick, this is an interesting pick, and I think they take Alex Antetokounmpo after working him out. They really seemed, what I was reading, to like him. I wouldn't be surprised if they take him. If I could find him, then I would finish it up, and I would tell you about some of these picks. But I cannot find him right now. Here, one sec. I'm real quick going to look that up. I do not think that there is a Alex Antetokounmpo on the draft. Yeah, I don't think they have Alex Antetokounmpo on the draft, so I guess we'll just talk through this summary here. So, after you've seen my draft, you probably are thinking I'm crazy. Whoa, that was the worst draft ever. But we'll see on Thursday night. I'm gonna be hopefully live streaming that if I'm available. We'll figure that out later. But for right now, I'm gonna talk through this just groups of the draft and talk about that type of stuff. So first off, these first four picks here: Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Suggs. I feel like that order is pretty much locked in stone right now, unless there's any movement. The only thing I could see moving is Jalen Green for Mobley. If a team is looking for that center, I would see that. I don't think Suggs gets picked at 3 and Mobley falls, but if they did, the Raptors would be the happiest team right now. I think Scotty Barnes and Kuminga is an interesting story. There's been reports that Kuminga might even fall further than 6. That would be completely bonkers if he did. I wouldn't be surprised if he's drafted by the Warriors. I think the Warriors really like him after meeting with him and eating dinner. They had a good time, and I think they really liked him. Or Moody. I think one of those two, could take Davion Mitchell's spot. If the OKC Thunder don't pick Kuminga, I wouldn't be surprised if they pick Sengun or Moses Moody. I think those are two really good high-level players. I, wouldn't be surprised if they pick Giddey, but I don't think they'd pick Giddey. They have a bunch of guards already on that roster. I think they need, to fill out the center and the power forward position. I think Moody can play that power forward and Sengun can play the center. So those would be two interesting picks for me as we go down the draft. Sengun to the Kings is a perfect fit for them. The Kings need a center. I think Marvin Bagley is gone. Kai Jones to the Hornets is really the match made in heaven. Kai Jones is a sky demon. He's going to be able to slam some amazing lobs from LaMelo. It is going to be so much fun to watch with Bridges, Washington, and Kai Jones in the air. And I don't remember who I selected, but Greg Brown would be he's going to be an amazing finisher, and so will not Greg Brown, Jericho Sims, or no, that's for a different team. But sorry, but he's still going to be some amazing lob potential with that team. It's going to be crazy to see. Franz Wagner, easily, I think he's going to be a great player. I don't think he's going to be a great player, but I think he's going to be a very solid, good starter for a long time. If the Spurs, they have one of the best development staffs, I wouldn't be surprised if he develops into an all-star with that frame. Usman Garuba, a pretty good player. I do think, just that the Pacers will just go with him. Corey Kispert, I don't really know if the Warriors are 100% sold on him, but it'd be interesting to see. Jalen Johnson, a great high potential player. I wouldn't be surprised if people look for him. Trey Jones, a really shifty guard. He has also a lot of high potential, in my opinion. Chris Duarte, I think he's going to be a lock for that number 2 position or number 22 position if he drops even that far. I wouldn't be surprised if someone higher up takes him. I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors took him. But just looking out for that, I think Miles McBride, he's a great player, great prospect. I think it'd be interesting to see. JT Thor, also another great prospect. I think he might go a little higher than 28 just because of Giannis Antetokounmpo just winning an NBA Finals. He has a similar body to Giannis, and if he can develop, I don't think he will, but there are teams that probably think they can do what the Bucks did. It'd be interesting to see Daron Sharp with the Brooklyn Nets. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts over or if he plays off the bench over DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan was a huge liability for them in the playoffs. I think Claxton and Daron Sharp will be great fits on that team. I think Daron Sharp brings a very physical presence to a well-needed a well-needed skill to that team, it being a physical presence. Quentin Grimes, a great fit on that team. As we go down the list, Dosunmu, I think he's a very high floor for the Bucks. I think he'll be able to help out the Bucks. Bassey, great fit there. BJ Boston, high potential pick for the OKC Thunder. I think they'll have a lot of those. Jericho Sims, a huge lob threat for Ja Morant to use. I think it'll be great for him. Isaiah Todd, another, I think great fit for him. Deshaun Nix is interesting. I think he, will either jump up a lot or be really low in the draft and maybe even go undrafted. He's really lost a lot of his, draft buzz. So this is about what I'm thinking. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, great fit, I think, for the Sixers. Did not mean to click on that. And of course, if I don't think Thor will play on the roster right away, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jeremiah Robinson Earl plays this coming season. All right, thank you guys so much for watching that live stream. I had an awesome time making this. Hope you guys very much enjoyed it. See you guys later. Goodbye.